When you see an online lesson starting this way, you probably think it must be English. Let's find out. That's correct. The location of where I am is not really that important. What is more important is what I used in these examples. Things like, that's a normal sentence, but this question is what we're dealing with today, modals. Because modals help you when just verbs don't do it. To explain this, for instance, this was one of the possibilities. He could be in a hotel room, which clearly I'm not. But if you would leave out could, you just have he is in a hotel room, which is a wrong sentence. But you don't know where I am, so it could be your guess. And nothing wrong with being a guesser and being incorrect, but it doesn't really look like a hotel room. The other suggestion, this one, he could be in a different room of the house. That's perhaps better because, as he explained over here, you can see why he needed a printer for this particular exercise. So that's what we're dealing with, modals. They help you explain stuff when just a verb doesn't do. And they're typical kinds of modals. There are lots of modals. And the good news is there's so many modals, we're not going to see all of them. For this particular lesson, we're going to focus on one particular kind of modal. Modals used for speculation, like these, where you're guessing where I am right now. Up next is the moment where we're going to go to the book, which is 0.4. That's the lesson we're on. That's page 7 if you're interested. And we're going to go to a PowerPoint because this is going to explain what I'm talking about right now. So I'm going to pretend for now this is a live lesson, and I'm going to go to this particular PowerPoint. There we go. And I'm going to show this from the beginning. As I said, speculation, these are the kind of modals we're dealing with right now. Other examples are possible for modals. You have obligation, permission, prohibition, and prediction. A prediction could be where you can use can and could as well. These are things like if this was stated a month ago, you could say, I think Biden could be the next president. I think Trump could be the next president. But at this point, we don't know what's going on. We do know that Trump doesn't really want to say that Biden is the winner. So he says, I'm going to do all I can to make sure that's not going to happen. And then it's up to us to sort of guess what could happen. All of these are predictions. We don't know this until we see end of January, when there should be the moment where we see the new president, what has happened so far. All of that, which we're trying to guess that could be happening between now and January, all of those are predictions. Now, some of them will be possible. Some of them will be implausible and really impossible. A good example could be aliens from another planet will come and take him away, Trump. That's probably not going to happen. Though, it's 2020. Perhaps even that's possible. Another well-used example, again, where can is used, is permission and prohibition. You often hear the question, teacher, can I go to the bathroom? Now, an English teacher will perhaps jokingly say, well, I hope you can because you're 16 years old. Can is often used for ability. These are things which you're able to do, which are possible for you to do. Well, if you're 16, we hope, or 18 or 17 or, something else, we hope that by now you have, well, learned how to use a toilet. Let's put it that way. But when you ask the question, can I go to the bathroom? This would probably also just want to say, may I go? You ask for permission. So again, can, as you can see, can be used for lots of things, and even obligation. I think these are the ones you know best. You must do this, or you have to do this. So can is a good example, which I've used a couple of times in this lesson to show you that not always are we going to put the same kind of modal to the same kind of meaning. But more about this later. So here are some examples. It must be very hot outside. The vase might be 700 years old. We could have fish tomorrow. Luke shouldn't drive so fast. This is a good example where it's, well, advice probably. It's in a way of obligation, but it's the weakest kind of obligation. It's really, in a way, showing your concern for Luke more than for the rules. You ought to take notes is also something which I say when I'm giving you a lesson and I see nobody is taking down notes, and I know I'm going to ask a question about this on the exam. So I will help you and say, you ought to take notes. I'm not forcing you to take notes. It's your own volition. It's your own willingness whether you want to do this, because, perhaps you already know what this is all about, and perhaps, which I think is going to be the likelier answer, you think, yeah, I'll know this, but you don't. So I'm not forcing you, but I'm saying you really should be doing this. We can watch a movie, that's a possibility, and ask Lucy, she may know an answer. So as you can see, all kinds of modals. But all of these have something in common. They are just modals used with the infinitive. Now, my question at this point would be, how many kinds of infinitives are there? And every time I ask this, the answer is going to be 1, but that's not true. There's actually 3 kinds of modals, but we're going to explain that later. So this is what I just said. A modal helps you define a verb. The verb itself doesn't do enough. So we had the example, is this the right one? Yeah. He could be in a different room of the house. We know I am not, so he is in a different room is a wrong sentence. So you need an extra bit to sort of help you get your message across. There's a possibility that this is just a part of the house we haven't seen so far. That is a good sentence. So could is doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this sentence. It gives the listener, in this case me or you, the opportunity to say that this is a possibility. I'm not sure if this is right or not, but that's my guess. He needed a printer. Normally he's taping from the kitchen and there's no printer there. So perhaps that's why he used his laptop to go to a different room, right? The last bit here is how sure you are of something. Could is, in a way, already telling you, this is a possibility. I'm not saying that this is the correct answer. So you use different kinds of modals for this. Now, this is what I just said. You should tell her that is a normal sentence. It uses should, which is a modal. It uses tell, which is an infinitive, but it's the present version of the infinitive. Remember how we started with that timeline where you had all 20 tenses, and I told you that there could be a passive for everything and it could be a continuous for everything. Everything even includes the infinitive, but the infinitive is not a tense, so that's why it's not there. But let's have a look at the example. Infinitive continuous, he might be watching TV. In this case, as it continues, we use that for a longer activity, and a TV show usually lasts 45 minutes. So this is something, let's say you're waiting for someone, you agree to meet each other at 8, it's now 8:15, and you say, where is he? And then someone else could say he might still be watching that TV show he always watches. He doesn't want to miss it because it's something like a football match or The Masked Singer, and if you watch it delayed, there will be people spoiling it for you on social media. So he might be watching that right now. That's something he's doing at that moment, or a longer activity. So continuous, and you can, as I just showed you, use this even for an infinitive. He might is a modal, be, that is an infinitive, and then the ing form for the continuous. So infinitive, continuous. What's important here is that watch is the verb we're using. So the infinitive is be, and watch is used in its continuous, just like we normally use continuous. The past infinitive, you could have warned me. These are the things in the past. Let's say that we're in the classroom and the previous teacher, let's pretend we're in the 1.9, the previous teacher was there and she spilled some water, and because of that the floor is slippery. Now you were already in class, I came from a different room, you know that the floor is slippery, sorry, but you don't say anything because you're not thinking about it. And then I enter the room and I trip, or I just, well, skate away. And you say, oh yeah, sorry, we forgot to tell you the floor is slippery. Then I would probably say, you could have warned me. I mean, your warning is doing nothing if I'm already on the floor. I mean, warning should be used in advance, so before you encounter a dangerous situation. So in that case, you could say, you could have warned me. This is the past infinitive. Again, the infinitive is warn. What do we have? We have could, which is a modal. Then we have, and then the ed form, and that is the past version of an infinitive. We're going to do some exercises with that later, because I noticed that remember this on page 7 of the book also explains what past infinitive is. Past modals, all kinds of special modals will be coming later, not in this year, but later next year. I think it's sort of unit 4 where we'll see them. So speculation, as I said, the third part of this very long PowerPoint on modals, but we're only going to focus on this one. Speculation. Speculation means there's a possibility and you're not sure of how right or wrong something is. Modals to use for this are most often may, might, and could. But you can also use must. Now, a sentence which you would probably say is a good example of must. If I would ask you, write a sentence using the sentence must, you would probably think of a class and you would say, we must do our homework, or we must upload this task on Smart School. Good, but these are all kinds of things you have to do. That's obligation. And this is not the kind of must we are looking for. Remember how this lesson started? It started in the kitchen and we saw that, that picture. And then I said, it must be English. That's something, if you see that, it doesn't have to be English lesson. Another teacher could also use some posters in the background, but as far as I know, not too many people do this. So you are probably saying it's English, or you're saying it's probably English. You're working out that, let's say that you are watching this particular video and someone else from your class, because you were sick, let's say today you were sick, so you're going to listen to this lesson later, and when you're doing this, someone else from your class walks in on you, looks at the screen and says, oh, I can see, if I'm not on the screen, but you can see the background, you say, oh, of all the possible classes, I think this is going to be the lesson. Am I right? And as we said earlier, I'm going to go back to this. They can tell you how sure you are of something. So if you're not 100% correct, because a person could be watching any kind of video, but because of that particular poster, you say that, I'm pretty sure that's going to be English, right? Right? Am I right? Even though you are right, you are in a way asking for confirmation. Yeah, you are right. That's the English class. So speculation. Let's give some examples. Ask Lucy. She might know. Perhaps she knows the answer. I think so, but I could be wrong. So that's if you ask me a question and it doesn't have anything to do with a particular lesson, in some cases, I will probably give you the answer. But sometimes the question is really original, which I haven't heard before, and I have to think. And then I start thinking this could be the reason of something, etc., etc. And then I will probably say, I think this is the right answer. I could be wrong. I will look this up and I will tell you later what the answer was. So this is in a way telling you that I think this is the right answer, but I'm not 100% sure. I may be wrong about this, so don't quote me. That's even better. That's saying, well, I think this is the right answer, or I think this is why something is happening, but I'm not an expert here, so, I mean, don't take my word for it, but, I mean, perhaps it's a good explanation, perhaps it's a good reasoning. Think about it, and as I said, I'm not an expert. I could be wrong here. Finally, don't call him right now. He could be watching the match on TV. Let's say that this is taped on the day that the Red Devils are going to play. And if you are going to be in touch with a football fan later, probably between, I think, 9 and 11 o'clock, this evening is not necessarily the best time because they'll be focused on that screen, which is not a screen for a laptop or lessons. It's a screen which you use to watch a match at that point. So possibilities, all kinds of possibilities, and sometimes I'm sure, sometimes I'm less sure. So must, which I told you, when you use must, when you are sure about something because it's a logical deduction. Now, what does that mean? We forgot to give the dog dinner yesterday. He must be hungry right now. Now, this is the same for dogs as it is for human beings. If you did not eat yesterday, today you're going to be probably quite hungry, right? So that's the sentence we're looking at right now. We forgot to give the dog dinner yesterday, so the dog didn't eat yesterday. So logically, I'm going to say the dog will be quite hungry. Now, some dogs will be able to sort of tell you that they're hungry.
Can I help you? Can I help you with something? What? 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 What can I do for you? Huh? What? What do you want? What? 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 You want some food? Food? You hungry? It is midday. You just ate. And you're hungry again? What? Oh my gosh. All right.
Now, of course, we can't be 100% sure what's happening in this particular video. You see a dog who is hungry, but is the dog hungry or not? It can't speak, so it could be hungry and showing its owner, please feed me, you've forgotten this. But it could also be that it's feeding time and the owner deliberately forgot this. I think this is what's going on. So, because he knows that this is the reaction of the dog. However, dogs, as you can know from Pavlov, can be trained. And if this dog knows that when it's rattling its bowl, it hasn't received any food, well, then perhaps that's what's going on and thinks, ooh, I'm feeling a bit peckish. I would like to have a bit more food. And then it pretends that it didn't get any food. So the dog must be hungry is what we can assume is the reason for this to happen. So this is where must is used as a prediction. Now, let's say that this particular person has a partner and this is going on. And then this guy says to the partner, I think the dog's hungry because, it's playing with the ball. And then the partner says, well, the dog can't be hungry because you just fed him, or I just fed him. Fed with a D, not fed with a T. So the dog can't be hungry, I just fed him. So what we have over here is the negative. And let me go back to the original examples I just gave you and show you what I mean with that. If I want to make this negative, what am I going to use? Well, we'll start with the second one. I think that's the easiest. I think so, but I could be wrong. The negative of could is couldn't. May not, and might not. We could also have a sentence like this to make an approximate estimate. Olga must be 15 centimeters taller than I. We're going to use something else for this. And I'm going to hope this is going to work correctly. Here they are. This was in the news, and you can see why. We have two identical twins, and who are the nurses to identical twins? You can see that they're very, very related. Now, I like to refer for this example, there was an Olga in the statement, so I'm going to use Olga on the left, and on the right you have Oksana. So Olga and Oksana are identical twins. So this means that they are the same height. You can't really see it from this angle, but I'll show you a different screen. These are also twins. They're Jamaican twins, and they come from a mixed family. So they look identical apart from two things, the hair color and the skin tone. But other than that, as you can see, they're identical they're equally tall, etc. Let's focus on that. You can sort of have a line over there, right? So if on the left we have Olga, and on the right we will have Oksana, which is a weird name for Jamaican girls, but there you go. And if you are in the same class as Olga and Oksana, and you say, hey, I think Olga must be 15 centimeters taller than I. Why? Well, because I know Oksana is, and they're identical twins. I've never stood next to her, so I don't know. I think it must be the case. That is an estimate or prediction. The negative here is, let's say the sentence would be, Olga must be 10 centimeters smaller or taller than you. In the original example, it was 15, right? So let's say Olga must be 10 centimeters taller than me because I think she's the same height as Rosanna. And then someone else says, no, that can't be the case because I know that Oksana, on the right, is 15 centimeters taller than you. So Olga, having the same height, can't be 10 centimeters taller than you. She also has to be 15 centimeters taller. And perhaps that's because, as you can see over here, they were wearing high heels, but perhaps one of them is wearing high heels in everyday life and the other one isn't. And that's why you think there's a difference of 5 centimeters. But this particular classmate happens to have seen this particular picture and goes, no, they are the same height. Okay, so that's an example of that particular thing. I'm going to try and go back to my PowerPoint. Here it is. So Olga must be, or she can't be, 15 centimeters taller than I. It says over here that we have to go to the book. This should be handy to know, especially for the exam. If you want to have more information, in this case, it was a video, so you can always rewind if you want to. But if it's in class and or perhaps you forgot a lesson or you were sick during a lesson, at the back of the book, in this particular case, page 125, you can see the examples of what I was trying to say, and you can all read along. Also, there are, as you can see on page 126, there are extra exercises. So if you think I would like to have an extra exercise, look at the grammar again at the end of the book and then look at the extra. You will find the key to that at the end of each term or when we have a big test coming up. So if you want to have some extra practice, my lab is always there for you and the grammar focus at the end. Okay, that is part one of this video, which was all about the content of these modals. Now let's go to the book and see what examples they have. Here's the book, exercise 3, as I said. So must, and there are two options in this case. There's going to be an infinitive or a present infinitive. So you're sure something is true, you use must, and etc. Might, less certain, might, and can't when you are sure something is not the case. So if you're very sure you're going to use must, if you're very sure it's not the case, or if you're very, well, I wouldn't say unsure, if you're very sure something is the case, must. If you're sure something is not the case, can't. If it's in between, might or could, like we started this particular lesson. So we have first example here, we, and then be alone. What can we have over here? It's too big is the important next bit. So are we alone? Well, this person says, well, I don't think so because it's too big. So the answer here in this particular case is going to be, we can't. So when you're sure it's not the case, as I said, can't. There be another life somewhere. So that means that this person is quite sure that there's other possibilities. Must is therefore the example modal to use. If you, as I said, are not really sure, what can we do? Well, that's the second one. There can't be, there's no evidence to prove it, or there might be life on other planets, but they may not be as advanced as we are. Might can also be, as you could see earlier or on top over there may be life on other planets, but they may not be as advanced as we are. There could be life on other planets, there could not be as advanced as we are. So all of these three are good. And then, as I said, well, we had the sentence we just had, there can't be, there's no evidence, you're very sure there's no evidence, so it is, for you, it's impossible, there's no possibility, so you say can't, that's the negative. So they use them in this order. The first one, must be, you're definitely sure. Second one, can't be, you're sure it's not the case. And then if there's some doubt, you can go may not. Then we have aliens could be watching us right now, or may be watching us, or might be watching us right now, or they may have observed us and decided not to get in touch. Now, why do we have this particular example? Well, I'm going to show you. It's what I said at the beginning. How many infinitives are there? There are 3 infinitives. The normal one, the one you always learned. And I think that because I'm on Zoom, I can do this now, and you can actually see it. B, that's a normal infinitive, right? That's the infinitive you've always learned and the one we've always called infinitive. We still do that at this point from here onwards. When we want to specify it's a special kind of infinitive, we'll mention that. So if I say I would like to have a past infinitive or infinitive continuous, I will say that. So why do they have 4 sentences when there were only 3 possibilities, right? There was must for when you're very sure. There was can't when you're sure it's not the case. And for a bit of doubt in between, you had may, might, and could. Well, the reason is the 4th sentence is dealing with these special kinds of infinitives. They may be watching us. So you could also say aliens could watch us. But if that's going on right now, a better sentence would be aliens could be watching. That is an infinitive continuous. Or maybe there's something which has already happened in the past. And then if you say there may be life on other planets, a good example is Mars. They found some water, so very likely that there was, at one point, there was some sort of life, but because of the current conditions, that's no longer the case. Let's say that is some I was going to say international, but interglobal science going on. So let's assume that, right? Then you would have to talk about the past, because if perhaps these aliens were from Mars, they were observing us, and then Mars became a planet where you can't live on anymore, and then we have to use a past tense, right? Because, as I just said, they're dead right now. So then you need a past infinitive, for which you do this. You have, and then the ed form, or the 3rd form, or the past participle. Be, that's your continuous, is the form be, and then the ing form of the verb. So aliens could watch us, aliens could be watching us, aliens could have watched us. And for the last one, it's they may observe, they may be observing us right now, or they may have observed us. And then for the previous example, there might be life on other planets, or for a past tense, there might have been life on other planets. In this case, we can't go for continuous, because be and is already, the verb you use. So there might be being, you don't say that. That would always turn into be. So if it was any other, I'm gonna try and do one from the previous examples. Lovely, everything's B. But I'm sure you understand that we can turn this the other way around, right? If it was, I was going to say watch, but you have that example. I'll do one with the next exercise. Okay, let's go to that next exercise. According to a recent UK survey, many people still believe. Okay, good. Let's use believe here, right? So what was the previous one, the last one, the 3rd one? Might. So they might believe, they might be believing, or they might have believed. I hope that clarifies it for you. Okay, so exercise 4 is here. Let's read the text, and I'm gonna let you do that in your own time, and then afterwards we will show you the answers to this. So again, it says over here, replace the underlined verb structures with alternatives. So have possibly visited, you want to use a modal for that. You want to use can't, could, may, might, or must. Have possibly, so there's a possibility here. So probably it's not going to be can't, right, or must. So let's find out what the example is here. May, or might, or could, right? So that's how you have to do it. Have possibly visited, that is a past tense in a way, so you're going to use a past tense. So look at the particular tense it has, and look at the other words, the clue words, like possibly in this case, or definitely, so you know which one is definitely going on and which one isn't. So read that text and then try and do the rest of the exercise. What's next? There will be exercise 6, and it says space exploration might lead to the discovery of other life forms. If you have that, might lead, does that mean it's possible or it's certain? Well, might, as I say, is in between for possibility, so that should be A. I can still have my job. All right. So that's what you should be doing. So exercise 4 over here, exercise 6, and then finally there's also exercise 7. What is this final exercise for? Rewrite the comments using the modal verb in capital. So in this case, it's going to be must. And then think of situations where you make or might make such comments. So the first one, I'm sure you're very pleased, and you have to use must. So that should be, you must be pleased. Very pleased is, of course, acceptable too. But, you know, must is already in a way introducing the fact that you'll be very pleased. So you must be pleased. We have that over here. And then the thing, think about situations where you might make such comments. You know, let's say that it was something big like the big reading test and you finished first or second, then someone else is probably going to say, ooh, you must be pleased with that. Now, this could be anything, right? That was just one example, but you could have won a competition. You could have, your big hero is suddenly following you on TikTok or Instagram. Could be anything. This could be an interesting exam question, of course. So give me an example so I know you can use it in a good context. So that would be something if, let's say it's 6 and I need 9 to get to 100 points, for instance. I could ask, well, give me something else and where you could use this, and then I could add an extra 3 points. So that could be a possible exam question. Okay, so these exercises, so number 4, 6, and 7 are there for you, and you'll get the answers soon. That's all the explanation. That's all the exercises for this particular video, and I'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye for now, and see you. Are you ready for the answers?